Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sean Blyle from the client development team here at MembersFirst. I'm excited to spend my Friday afternoon with all of you. We're going to be talking a little bit about design, communications, and mobile apps today on today's webinar. So without further ado, there is my contact information and my mugshot over on the left-hand side. From the attendee and the registration report, I do know most of you, so I appreciate you spending your afternoon with me. And for those of you who I don't know, I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about your questions in regards to design, communications, and mobile apps. And then I'm more than happy to answer any questions following the webinar. So just a quick couple housekeeping items before we begin with the content. This webinar it is going to consist of a slide deck and also, of course, me talking over the slides. But what we will also do is we will walk through the presentation, and then I'll answer any questions at the end of the webinar. You don't have to wait to the end to ask your question. You could simply type in your question as we go through, and then what I will be doing is answering those in the order they're received towards the end of the webinar. We also had another webinar earlier this morning, which there were some incredible questions that came out of, so I probably will be asking some of those if they are not asked by this attendee group. And you can submit your questions by typing them in the question pane of your GoToWebinar user control panel. Okay. Perfect. So what are we going to cover today? So there's a lot of things that there's a lot of topics that we can talk about when it comes to design communications. But the items that we're going to focus on today is we're going to look at the data. When looking at doing a redesign or building a brand new website, you don't want to just build something that's beautiful. Yes, that helps. However, you want to also make sure that you're looking at the data to make sure that not only are you building something visually attractive, but you also want to make sure that it is functional. And we use a lot of data here at MembersFirst to make sure that that happens. We're also going to talk a little bit about your creative assets. You know, a lot of clubs are looking at how do we use video? What types of photography do we need? How creative can we be with our photography? So we'll talk a little bit about creative assets. One of my favorite parts about our design projects is how our designers and our clients are inspired by websites that are not just private clubs. We actually take inspiration from outside of the industry, so I'm going to give you a sneak peek under the hood as to how we do that today, and hopefully you can use that information in a future project that you have down the road. However, not all design conversations have to do with the website. So we're going to touch base. Most of you are on social media at your clubs or your associations. But what we're going to talk about is how to create some really great social media posts and design around them, because we want to leverage design in your social content. Once we figure out how to create great posts, then we could talk a little bit about how to integrate that information into your website. The next wave of design, from what I have found, we're getting questions a lot about this, and we want to make sure that we're helping clubs understand the pros, the cons, all the benefits that go into doing interactive tours. The industry is probably not quite ready for virtual reality, but who knows, it could be there down the road. But what a lot of businesses in the hospitality industry, not only private clubs, but hotels and restaurants, a lot of them are tapping into interactive tours. So we want to make sure that you're prepared for that information when it comes up at your next committee, board, or management meeting. And then what we'll do is we'll finish off the webinar taking a look at the MembersFirst mobile app. Design is great on the web. Design is great in social media. However, you also need a way for your members to stay connected to your content. So we will jump away from the slide deck and take a look at the MembersFirst mobile app and see how that fits into your design and communication strategy. Then we'll follow up with some questions and answers at the end, and I will stay on the line for as long as I have to in order to answer all of your questions. So let's jump right in. So let's first take a look at the data. Now, MembersFirst, yes, we're an award-winning, design agency, and what that means is that we don't just build websites, right? When in the world of design, there's a lot of different pieces of that puzzle, right? There's social media, there's design, there's real estate, there's virtual tours, there's video, photography, all those different pieces of the puzzle. Okay, how do you figure it all out together? Well, that's what we do. We enjoy working with our clients on the creative side of things. But it means that we have to have these important discussions to figure out how all the pieces of the puzzle work together in order to improve your digital footprint for your organization. So the first thing that we usually start off with at MembersFirst, and most of you on this call hopefully do as well, whenever you are getting ready to do a design project, typically what happens is that you have a manager or a board member, a committee member, whoever it may be, they'll come in and they'll say, hey, I belong to this club down south, up north, out west, and we should just copy what they're doing. Or then they'll say, we need to make it more intuitive for people to find information. There's too much content. Or we will often hear people say, why do we have so much information on the public side of the website? Now, all of those may be valid points. However, what we like to do is support those points if the data supports it. So basically, this goes back to a comment my buddy Matt from high school told me. He's now a civil engineer, so he builds the roads that we all drive on every day. And he said something a couple of years ago. He said, Sean, we don't pave the roads until you know where people are going, because you want to make sure that you're monitoring traffic patterns before you put the investment not only into our infrastructure for transportation, but also for the infrastructure on the web. So when we look at a website, yes, we want to make sure it's visually appealing, but we also want to know the data behind it. We want to know where people are going, where are people spending most of their time, and how can we improve that experience. So that comment relates to what we do here at MembersFirst. However, we also use a lot of tools, and they're free tools. So all of you have access to this. Hopefully some of you are already diving into your Google Analytics, but Google Analytics is a way that Google provides data on all websites as long as you install a code on your website. And not only MembersFirst, but for those of you on the call that do not use MembersFirst, Google Analytics is a free tool that any website provider or design agency can help you install. Now, what is Google Analytics? Google Analytics is going to be that software that is installed by a code on your website, and it's going to track the usage of where people are going. Okay, so the data behind it is great. One, not only can you find out where people are going. This is a screenshot of the most popular pages at a certain club. Now you can change your segments and your time frames in the area of the site and what is public and what is private. You can get super deep within Google Analytics. Now, some of the stuff at the top level, you can go in and kind of make a lot of decisions based on your own, but sometimes you may want to leverage the resources of your design agency or your website provider to help you do that as well. But when we're getting ready to do a redesign, what I typically do, let's just say a club hasn't redesigned their site in the last 5 years. Well, a lot has changed in the last 5 years, but the traffic patterns are going to be important. So we want to see, even though your website may be older, we want to see where people are going. That way, if we know the most important pages people are visiting, both on the public side or the private side, we know how to make that content easier to find. But not only do we want to find the most important pages or the most visited pages, we also want to analyze other content. How much time are they spending on those pages? How many of them are unique page views? How many people are entering the website from that page? So there's so many different things that we can look at when it comes to analytics. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be multiple ways to interpret analytics. For example, if we're looking at the most popular pages that are visited on a website, and we're comparing that to the average time on pages, it could be interpreted two different ways. People may be spending more time on a certain page because it's hard to find the information that they need. Or they may be spending more time on that page because the information is super engaging and they want to spend time on there because you're providing great content. So you want to make sure that you're looking at the numbers, but you need to interpret them for your brand and your organization specifically. One other thing that I use quite often, and I know that our team does this for our current clients here at MembersFirst, but this is something that you can do on your own. And again, it's totally free. So if you have access to your Google Analytics account and you have Google Chrome or Firefox, I would encourage you to go to the Google Chrome store and download Page Analytics by Google. And what Page Analytics by Google is, it is a way to put a heat map over your website. Because when you're doing a redesign, you want to make sure that you are looking at the data first. So step number one is kind of taking a look at the site map. However, the site map is going to consist of your primary navigation and your secondary navigation. Over here on the left-hand side, you will notice that there is a heat map placed over this website internal page. The screenshot is a little bit small, so when you see the slide deck, it'll be probably easier to read. However, you will notice that over on the left-hand side, you'll notice that all those orange dots along the club's secondary navigation, there's a percentage next to all of those. Those are the heat maps. Those are the items that are telling you which items are clicked on the most. Not only can you look at this from your secondary or primary navigation, but you can also look at the content from the footer, or you can look at your calls to action in the middle of the page. It's a great way for marketers to be able to analyze the data in order to see if their calls to action are actually producing results. So step number one is going to be looking at your data and incorporating that into the site map. Step number two is going to be design inspiration, and step number three is going to be looking at how those design mock-ups work on all devices, such as desktop, tablet, and mobile. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into looking at your creative assets, because one, now we've looked at the data. That's great. You have all that information. Step two is going to be, now what we want to do is take a look at our creative asset inventory. And by creative assets, I mean your video and photography. Now, video and photography, everybody knows, yes, a member or your superintendent or your GM or whoever it is, they can literally all go to Amazon, buy a drone, buy a camera, throw it in the air, and start taking photos or videos. That's great. However, there's a skill involved in creating good creative assets. MembersFirst started doing video and photography a few years back because what we found was that there was a lot of people who were providing us with photography, and it was taken from their iPhone, or it was taken from an angle that it wasn't great or didn't complement the food they were trying to photograph. So what we encourage people to do is that make sure that you're working with your preferred professionals, such as your wedding photographers or your creative agency that you're working with for video and photography, because it is going to be worth it. It's one of those things that you want to make sure you have the quality there, because everybody knows that a picture says 1,000 words and a video is worth 1,000 pictures. So we want to make sure that that quality of content is there. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle when it comes into creating your creative assets. Your members, management, or committee may fall in love with this website from across the country. However, you need to identify, are they falling in love with the website or the photos on the website? So you want to make sure that you can distinguish those two from each other, mainly because you can have the best website in the world, but if you have bad creative assets, it's not really much you can do. Now, when you're looking at photography, there's two things that we always recommend. One, I travel to clubs all over the country, and I am amazed every time I walk into a club at how beautiful their facilities are. Some are very traditional in nature. There's a lot of history. Some are very new and modern. However, when you're looking at photography, make sure that you're focusing not only on the facility, so the nice entranceway, the clubhouse, the foyer, all of those other pieces of the puzzle that makes your facility special. But one thing that we see some clients forget about is lifestyle photography. Make sure that you're showing people enjoying those facilities that you've spent so much time maintaining over the years. So show people playing golf, show people enjoying a glass of wine, playing tennis. Those are all the things that you want to make sure that you have a good balance of photography, not only facility, but lifestyle. And then it comes down to video. If you're going to dip into the video market, make sure that you're professionally producing video. Now, there's plenty of cinematographers that are out there. One of the things that we see people using video for are, sometimes people are like Granite Links. They shot a video. It was a day in the life at Granite Links. Everything from, when the greens are being mowed and the lights are being turned on in the golf shop, to when people are having lunch, dinner, drinks, and watching the sunset. However, you also have the ability to introduce people to your golf course, to your facility. It's a way to give people a sneak peek behind the scenes at the lifestyle they're going to experience. Now, that could be if you are going after prospective members, or it is also something that your club historians can use to document this time in your club's history, because people 50 years down the road are going to be looking back at what life was like today and in our generation. It's the same way where you are most likely going back through your archives and digging up all of your historical photos because you want to know what happened in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So video has also been used as a great way to document your club's place in history. So we've looked at the data. We've also looked at creative assets. Now, how do we get inspired when we want to put this stuff into action on the web? This is probably the most fun piece of what we do at MembersFirst. I always get excited when I'm able to join in on design meetings with our designers. I think that we have some of the most creative brains in the industry. However, we can't do it all on our own. We need your help. And so when you combine your team, our team, or whoever your designer is, make sure that you're pushing them. Now, if you don't work with MembersFirst, that's fine. But if you are working with an agency that is providing you design expertise, make sure that you push them to be creative, because the worst thing that you can do is look like the club next door. Even if your member, committee member, or manager wants to copy a website from a club across the country, don't let them. Make sure that you're pushing yourself to maintain your brand on the web, because keep in mind, it's your digital footprint. You could take inspiration from all over the place, but in the end, your creative assets, which we just spoke about, will help you bring it back to the golf course or to the private club. So where do we get inspired? We go all over the place, and it's a lot of fun doing that. And if you've ever worked on a project with MembersFirst, I think that this is the coolest piece of our process, is that we take you outside of the industry. Over here on the right-hand side, I personally used to work in Bermuda, so I've been looking at, finding a way to take my family back there on vacation. So of course I'm looking at resorts and clubs and any place that we can go. So during my vacation research, I came across the Reefs Hotel and Resort down in Bermuda. So they had an unbelievable inviting experience. Come to find out, we've actually used that for a ton of inspiration for other sites that we've worked on for our clubs. So whether it's the Reefs Hotel and Resort or Christchurch Harbour Hotel over in the UK, make sure that when you're looking at websites for your own personal experiences, think of it as to how you could actually use that for your club. Now, we've even gone even outside of there. I mean, I never thought that I would be the person that was using a funeral home over here on the left-hand side for inspiration, but the funeral home had 3 locations. And over here on the left-hand side within this funeral home, they actually had an event calendar. One, I've got a yacht club that's actually using something similar, because they have sailing events, they have club events, and they have junior events. So they wanted to be able to show all 3 calendars at once in a very intuitive, user-friendly way. We literally took inspiration from a funeral home. Now, keep in mind, I am not the biggest cat fan. Now, it's not that I don't like cats. I think it's that cats don't like me. So I never thought that I would actually be the type of person who was going to a company called Cat Scarf for inspiration. It's literally a company that sells scarves to cats. However, you can get super creative with how these types of businesses could apply to your club. Look at higher education. Western New England University is where actually I graduated from. So I'm often on there looking at alumni events and looking at a variety of different things that are important to me as an alum. However, they do an unbelievable job of incorporating their social media, their video, and they have a great UI. So one of the things that I look at when I'm looking for design inspiration is things that are relevant, they're eye-catching. Now, again, over on the right-hand side, you've got Olympus Villas. There's so many different ways that that you can use different experiences on the web and then relate it back to your club. It could be something like I had a client of mine send me 2 different websites. One was for gentlemen barbershops. It was one of the most creative websites that I've seen. However, the interactivity and the functionality fit with one of the clubs that we were working with. So we took a little bit of inspiration from a barbershop website. Over on the right-hand side, I never thought I'd be saying this, but the American Revolution Museum, I have personally never been there, but now I can't wait to go. One, because their website actually drew me in as a visitor. It captured me, and then it allowed me to explore it. However, I'm on that site more often because I have a lot of people who now use that for inspiration. I want to be clear. One of the things that is super important is that if you're a private club, it does not mean that you need to be boring on the web. Have some fun with it. Show how great you are. You have to be careful with your content. Okay, you have to be careful with your content, making sure that you are abiding by all the rules and the guidance from your management committee members as to how much information you want to display. But just because you're private doesn't mean that you need to be boring. So have a little bit of fun with creativity. Now, once you've looked at the data, you've got your creative assets, you've got inspired, now you're working with your agency to make sure that it's going to work well on the web. However, you need to make sure that it works well on all devices. Everybody out here has probably heard of mobile responsive design. If you haven't heard about it, make sure you go look it up. But it's what every company is doing now. And if you currently are working with somebody that let's just say that your website currently right now is not mobile responsive, that's okay. Just reach out to your agency. There are easy ways to be able to convert your older site to a mobile responsive site. Okay, there's a little bit of design time that goes into that, but if you're not ready for a full redesign, there are easy paths to conversion. But if you are creating a new project, make sure that you are focusing on mobile responsive design. However, don't just go with the word of your design agency. Make sure that you're seeing the mock-ups for all of your devices, because we want to make sure that the content is responding to all different devices, but you want to know how that content is going to stack when it comes to a tablet or a mobile phone. So, work with your creative agency to make sure that you are seeing what it's going to look like before you actually launch it. Now, the way that actually works is that you want to make sure that you're doing mock-ups. Mock-ups for different breakpoints. And when I say breakpoints, that means breakpoints for each different device. So the content, when it gets to a certain point, is going to break and stack, and all the content will, make itself available on all those devices. So, for example, if we're looking at this one piece of content here, which is a very nice mosaic approach with a club that has a lot of amenities. However, this is on a desktop. If I'm looking at this on a tablet or mobile, whether it's portrait or landscape, I need to make sure that I know how that content is going to stack, because we want to make sure that the experience is the same on all 3 devices. Social media. Now we're going to move a little bit away from the website. There hasn't been a presentation you've heard in the last probably 5 years that hasn't involved in some shape or form social media. But what we're going to talk about today is how to leverage and design your social content. There's a lot of free ways to do that, okay? I'm sure everybody's looking at Instagram stories and your Facebook content and your Snapchat stories. You're looking at all of these different things and you're saying, hey, how is that brand being so creative with their content? How did they get that cool little graphic over that image or video? So we're going to touch base on this a little bit as to how design relates to social media. Of course, you've got the major networks: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Pinterest, all of the other ones that are out there, okay? Now, when you're, no matter which platform that you're on, there's a way to be creative with your design, okay? Now, one thing that, you know, some of our team uses, and most of my clients use as well, it's a free tool. It's called Canva, canva.com. It allows you to create very interesting posts, and there's tons of free templates. And the cool part about this is that it knows the dimensions of whether it needs to be a Facebook post or an Instagram post or a Twitter post. So it'll guide you along the way, and then it will help you search for certain layouts. Now keep in mind, you can customize those layouts as well. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see that, hey, there's something that's talking about coffee, okay? But then you can go in and change the buy one, get one free, get rid of that because it's not like you're selling this at a private club. But you can go through there and start customizing these graphics so that it fits your brand. You can also upload your own photos in here as well. That way you can go through and start customizing and putting graphics over your content in order to make sure that it's going to be extremely engaging on your social profiles. Now, once you start creating content that is visually appealing, how do you incorporate that into your website? So one of the great things, we've got a couple great examples here. The Philadelphia Cricket Club is doing a great job on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And one of the things that they've done is they've incorporated that into their website. They're bringing the conversation to their visitor. So what they've done over here on the left-hand side, you can do something as simple as Facebook sliders, Twitter sliders. Those are all things that will bring the conversation on Facebook to your website design. So if somebody happens to land on your website, they can also see the content from Facebook as well. Jumping into Instagram integration, Boston Golf Club. As you can see, they've actually got some extremely engaging posts. I mean, they've got 138 likes, 173 likes, and 92 likes on their last 3 posts. It's great. They've got a very engaging content. However, they've incorporated it into their website. So as you can see down here, they can actually, it's always going to display the last 3 Instagram posts on their website. It acts as an element in design on their website. So it looks like it's actually a part of their website. However, they're leveraging the content that their golf professional, superintendent, chef, whoever it is that's taking photos at the club, they don't have to know how to go onto the website and upload it into a photo gallery, because literally if they've incorporated Instagram into their website, all they need to do is just post to Instagram and it will automatically feed directly into their website. Now, getting extremely creative, Manchester Country Club up in New Hampshire, they have a very big wedding business up there, which means they're probably on Pinterest. Because they're on Pinterest, they're helping their brides be inspired with their ideas. They've got, I know a couple of the wedding planners and event planners up there. They do a great job of being creative with their clients for their events. However, in the case of a wedding, you're going to know that a bride is going to be spending a lot of time on Pinterest. So why not bring Pinterest to them? So what Manchester has done is they've incorporated their Pinterest boards within their website. So that way, if their user ends up on their website first, they can actually get inspired without ever having to go to Pinterest, because they brought the conversation to them. So it's a great way to be able to incorporate Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest into your website. But I'm going to throw everybody a curveball. What are we going to do about Snapchat? Now, is Snapchat going to be extremely powerful within the private club industry? I don't know. However, most of you who are on Instagram were not on Instagram 3 years ago. So will Snapchat be applicable to our private clubs down the road? Maybe. But there's a lot of great ways that people are starting to use this now. The way that it works is through geo filters. Most of you who have a Snapchat account, you may already know what these are because you're swiping through, adding filters, having fun with it, and sharing it with family and friends. But you have two different types of filters. You've got community filters and on-demand filters, okay? The on-demand filters are the items that we can actually go through and put business information on there. They're sponsored components. So what do you do first? You have to design a filter. It needs to be a transparent image that is submitted to Snapchat. There is an approval process. Once it's approved, these are 4 examples of filters that we've done at MembersFirst. Now, granted, we travel all over the country. Most of you on the call probably attended a regional club management conference. Well, we recently attended one out in San Francisco. So we had a little bit of fun with our brand, and we knew there were going to be a ton of people on Snapchat. So we leveraged that content in that distribution channel to get our brand out there in front of people. You can do the same thing for your club. So the way that that works can happen everywhere. Literally over on the left-hand side, over here, I was literally driving. I was driving out of Wingfoot, and I happened to take a snap, and I wanted to send it to a couple friends who were big golfers. Lo and behold, there was a Wingfoot Snapchat filter. So what I did, I added that filter to it, and I sent it off to my friends and family. Now, I was also attending the PGA Championship at Baltusrol Golf Club. So the second image was an image of me being on the golf course watching Phil Mickelson. So I added a filter which had the club logo, and it indicated where I was. Now, you can get as creative as you want with these filters. Let's just say you're having a July 4th event and you're having fireworks at the clubhouse. You can actually create a filter, put your brand on it, and then anybody who is on that channel, whether it's somebody in their teens, their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 70s, if they're on Snapchat, they'll be able to see your brand, apply it to their post, and share it with their friends and family. Now, does it work? It's different for everybody. So how these geo filters work, there are a few different things that MembersFirst had fun with. So this is a screenshot of how a geo filter works. So over on the left-hand side, you'll see the MembersFirst filter. You'll see a map, which I have drawn in blue, and I've highlighted where I want my filter to apply. It just so happens this was for the View Lounge on the 39th floor at the Marriott Marquis in San Francisco. So we put a filter on there from 5 to 11 p.m. on March 4th. Let's look at the data to see if it was successful. We had 824 swipes. It means that 824 people kind of swiped through and saw our filter. However, we only had 12 people use it. Doesn't sound like a lot. However, those 12 people had a network because 423 people viewed the snap that those 12 people launched. And guess what? It only cost me $19. So think of how you could use this for events. Now, the Club Managers Association had an unbelievable event at St. Francis Yacht Club out in San Francisco. If you ever have the opportunity to go to that club, do it. It's an unbelievable location. As you can see from the map, it's right on the water. Over to the left is the Golden State Bridge, and then, the Golden Gate Bridge. To the right is Alcatraz, and it is an unbelievable property. So we had a little bit of fun with our brand and the event. So with this one, we put a geo filter over the club. We had 138 swipes, which isn't as much as what the other filter that we had. However, we had an increase in uses, so we had 23 people use this. But oh my God, I was actually really pleased with this. Of those 23 uses, their network was provided a little over 1,000 views of a snap with our filter. And guess what? That only cost me $5. So keep in mind, you may use this for your events. You may have a 3 or 4 day invitational. You may have a July 4th event where you're going to put a filter over the pool, and then you're going to put a filter over the clubhouse during the fireworks show. Get creative with your brand and work with a designer to be able to make that look great when your members and guests are utilizing your club. Now we're going to jump into interactive tours. I honestly think it's going to be the next wave of design because, one, it's a way to give people a sneak peek into your building or into your property without ever having to step foot on property. Now, what does that mean? There are so many different ways that you can incorporate virtual tours or interactive tours. Now, it doesn't mean that you're putting on virtual reality goggles and actually walking through the tour, which you can do. However, I don't see clubs doing that right away, but what they are starting to do is actually put it on their website. And so there's a couple different ways to do that. One, there's a few different reasons. It's great for search engine optimization because these tours can actually be uploaded to your Google business page. And keep in mind, everybody has a Google business page, no matter if you're a private club or a hotel and resort. However, when people go to your Google business page, they're either going to see photos that other people have posted, or they're going to be photos, if you've claimed it, of yours. However, if you're doing virtual tours, you can replace those with these virtual tours. It's almost like touring the club without the physical person walking through there. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to, eliminate the membership director or the sales director at the club, because eventually these people are going to need to go to your club. However, if you've got a bride that is looking for a wedding venue and her family are considering options, and they're not sure if they want to drive an hour to your club because they're really not sure how it looks. Let's just say you haven't done a redesign in 10 years and your images aren't that great. Are they really going to drive an hour to see how beautiful your property is? Maybe, maybe not. But if you're starting to incorporate these interactive tours on your website, it allows them to get a sneak peek in there before they make the drive. So over on the left-hand side, the Cornell Club of New York is a great place to have an event. It's a great place to have a corporate event, or if you're a member and you're staying in the city, they've got great hotel rooms. However, you can see over here on the left-hand side, they can tour their space in 3D. You even have the ability to create a dollhouse view of your property, click on an area, and literally walk through the clubhouse. Now, does this work? I'm going to show you an example of a restaurant that I hope to take my wife to one day. We live in the Boston area. Newburyport is about an hour away from where we currently live. However, there's an unbelievable restaurant up there called The Point. Okay. Now, I have not had the chance to get back up there. It is on my bucket list for restaurants to dine at in the near future. However, I feel like I've already been there. And I'm going to bring over their website onto the screen now. And I'm going to show you how these virtual tours could help. Now, this is at a restaurant, so I'm going to explore the space in 3D. Keep in mind, I'm an hour away, and I'm getting excited to take my wife to this restaurant because I'm looking at a quick dollhouse view, and then I quickly jump into the restaurant, and now I can actually click and navigate through the restaurant as if I'm literally going to sit at the bar or sit at the table or talk to the bartender. I'm able to move around and see what the view is outside. It's an unbelievable way to give people a sneak peek at your property. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Sean, that's a public restaurant. They can do that. We can't do that because we're a private club. It's not true. So there's a couple different ways that I've seen other clubs do this. Renaissance on the North Shore of Boston. It's an unbelievable golf facility and has a great event business for brides. Now, keep in mind, it's an hour outside of Boston. So is somebody going to drive an hour to take a tour of this clubhouse? Maybe, maybe not. For those people who are unsure if they want to take a drive that far out of the city to host their wedding, they're going to go to their website. They're going to go to the website. They're going to look at, hey, is the photography great? Is this a place I want to actually spend, an hour drive, an hour with the wedding planner, and then an hour drive home, right? That's a 3-hour day that I need to make sure that I have time for. So before I do that, I'd like to tour the clubhouse. So I'm going to bring over their website. Here's Renaissance's website. It's a very modern mosaic approach. But what they did is they said, hey, anybody who wants to take a look inside, here's our virtual tour. And I'm going to simply click on the button. It will take me into the foyer. I can turn to the left. And if I'm a bride, I'm going to go directly into the ballroom and see how beautiful it is. That just took me 3 seconds. Now I'm willing to take 3 hours out of my day to go up and tour this clubhouse. So it's a great way not only for restaurants, but private clubs to give their prospective members or prospective guests a sneak peek as to what they're going to experience when they get to your property. Now, the next thing we're going to move into is how to keep your members connected. One way to do that is through the mobile app. So what I'm actually going to do here is we're going to jump over and make sure from a high level you understand kind of how that works. One, anything with design comes back to branding. Okay, make sure that your branding is there. Keep in mind, it's your app, not ours. So you want to make sure that your logo is on the member's phone. Now, I'm happy that most of you know who MembersFirst is, but I really could care less if your members do, because I care if you do. I want your members to know, hey, I'm going to the club at Neptune Cove, and it's all about your brand, not ours. Another benefit of the mobile app is that there's no more passwords, so your members can stay extremely connected because the members only log in once. And then from a design standpoint, you also have the ability to now send targeted push notifications. But keep in mind, create a strategy. You know, how are you sending out notifications? When are you sending them? Who are you sending them to? So make sure that your push notifications are a part of your communication strategy. Now, what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to pause real quick. And I'm actually going to pull up the mobile app on my phone. That way everybody can see the screen. We'll take you for a quick tour through the mobile app, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. We'll make this just a little bigger. Okay, great. So everybody should be seeing my phone now. And let me see if I can expand this a little bit. There we go. So everybody's looking at my phone, and you can see I have a very hectic world, and I've got a couple snaps that are kind of waiting for me after this presentation, as well as a text message and probably a voicemail. But over here on the right-hand side, you'll notice that the club at Neptune Cove, which is our demo site, is the mobile app is right here. So what I'm going to do here is let me just get back to my home screen. So as soon as you log into the mobile app, one of the nice things about, let me scroll here. All right. So jumping into the mobile app, just as that refreshes real quick, you're actually looking at the home screen. What we have found through our pilot testing is that the easiest thing, what most people want to see as soon as they log in is what's going on today. So we have a quick view as to what are the day's events. So we've got today's events right here in front of you. We also have the club highlights, which are all the stories that your content administrators are creating on the website, and they're just tagging them, and it automatically appears on the mobile app, which is a great way to manage content. Now, keep in mind, I don't really have any notifications here that have been personally sent to me right now. However, if I missed a notification in the past, I can always go up to my notification center and look at all the notifications that have been sent to me over a certain time period. I can also go back to the home screen, and up here on the left-hand side, you've got your hamburger menu, which is your navigation. When I click on the navigation, I can see, of course, my photo, which is visually connecting me to the club. And keep in mind, if a member wants to update their own information, if they want to update their photos, they can literally take a photo with their phone or update their content right on the mobile app. And it will not only update your website, but depending on your financial software, we can also have it also update your financial software. So scrolling down here, you've got great access to the club calendar. You can look at it in a full club calendar view, or I can look at it in a list view. So then if I can easily get down, I can say, hey, there's the pasta night. I want to click on that, register, and sign up. You also have an easy way to view your member directory. If I just do a quick search at anybody who starts with an A, you can see that here's all the content for the membership whose last name starts with an A. I could, of course, search based off of certain criteria and get to a bunch of different members as well. I can also make my tea time reservations, dining reservations, court reservations, massage, overnight, any type of reservations module that you have, whether it's with MembersFirst or if we're connecting to a different platform. This would also allow your members to immediately sign into those with no sign-in required. Some clubs are also adding to-go orders, viewing account statements. Maybe you're a club, a city club that has a reciprocal network. So maybe you want to be able to condense all your reciprocal clubs so you can quickly call when your member is traveling to be introduced to that club. It's a great way to showcase your photos and have easy access into your membership information. So that's a quick overview of the MembersFirst mobile app. Now, what I will do is jump back to the slide deck. And we will open up for questions and answers. So certainly, just as a reminder, there is a question and answer toolbar over on the right-hand side. So I'll start answering those questions in the order that they arrived. Okay, so we've got one question coming in here. It is okay. So, what is the difference between a mobile website and a mobile app? So the difference is, so a mobile app is actually something that is downloaded from the Google Play or the Apple App Store. So it's something that is physically downloaded by your members from one of those stores. Now, keep in mind, some clubs out there will have what's called a mobile website, which can act as a website application, but it is basically you're going to the internet, it is converting it to a mobile optimized version of the website, which is reduced content, and then most likely your members are saving it to their home screen. Now, that is what a lot of people were doing in kind of 2012, 13, 14. Today, most people are actually creating one website which is mobile responsive so that all of your content is available through the website in a mobile responsive fashion. And then the members will sometimes add a mobile app that will leverage that content. So the main difference between a mobile website and a mobile app is that one is going through the internet, the other one is being downloaded from the App Store. However, at MembersFirst, we can connect those two together. That way you don't have a separate app that you have to do duplicate data content management on. So great question. Okay, I've got another question coming in here in regards to Google Analytics. Is there any cost to turn on the heat map feature on our website? Actually, no. So not only, so what this person is referring to is the page analytics. Page analytics by Google is the heat map we spoke about. That is a free tool that you can add to your website. However, you need to make sure that you have access to your Google Analytics account first. And your Google Analytics account is free as well. If you don't have one installed on your website, make sure that you reach out to your agency partner to make sure that they can help you create an account and apply it to your website. If you are a MembersFirst client, you do have a Google Analytics account. If you forget how to log into it, certainly reach out to me. My contact information here is on the screen, and either myself or your client services manager, we'd be more than happy to give you a little bit of a refresher course. So great question. Okay, so this question is coming in. It's actually in regards to licensed drone operators. So it looks like this. So, okay. Can we just have a member with a drone shoot a video? I mean, yes, you can. I have seen videos that have been done like that. They can certainly be good, or they can be very choppy. Um, so, we recommend that not only, anybody can go on Amazon and purchase a drone and buy that, throw it in the air, and have some fun with it. However, we recommend that everybody works with a licensed drone operator, basically not only for the quality of production, but also for the safety of the people at the club, as well as the protection of your liability at the club. Because the one thing that we do here at Members First is that we always want to make sure that we're checking your airspace to know if we can fly. If we can, how high can we fly? And then also, if a drone damages the property, okay, who's liable? So if you went out and bought it, of course, you're going to have all the liability. If you're using a licensed drone operator, most likely they carry the liability insurance. So we just always recommend that you're working with somebody who is going to know a little bit about the FAA regulations. Are they licensed? And then are they going to be able to produce the quality of video that your members are expecting? So good question. There are a couple different options, but that's my recommendation. All right, we've got a question about Snapchat coming in. All right. Okay, where did that go? Okay, so this one is, can a Snapchat filter be used multiple times, or is it only able to be used once? Good question. It can be used multiple times, depending on how you implement it. So you can actually you can create one filter, and let's just say for that example I used before for July 4th, you can create that one filter from, let's just say, 10 to 2 over the pool, because that's going to be where the big barbecue is going to be. So you would use that filter over the pool, and then when the fireworks and dinner happens, you may use that same filter, submit it again to Snapchat from 7 to 10, and have that only be over the clubhouse. So in that case, you can actually use the same filter, but you're going to submit it twice to Snapchat in order to have it apply at 2 different times. Great question. We've got another one coming in for Google Analytics. We've had a Google Analytics account for years, but we haven't used it. Is there a recommended webinar on YouTube video for Google Analytics, or for somebody that has never used it? Yes. So because it's Google, they have great help scenarios. My recommendation would be to, if you're a Members First client, definitely reach out to our team here. We'd be more than happy to give you a quick refresher course. But if you're also somebody who is just looking to become a master on Google Analytics, there's something called Google Analytics Academy. So just do a quick search for that, Google Analytics Academy. There's 4 or 5 different courses, depending on whether you're at a beginner level, an intermediate, or an advanced level. So I personally take those courses myself because they change often, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping up to speed with what's relevant today as well. So great question. But again, a good resource is called Google Analytics Academy. Okay, this one's coming in about it looks like an interactive tour. How long would it typically take to construct an interactive tour? So I'm not entirely sure if this is in regards to creating a video tour or the interactive tour where it's like the virtual tour. So I'll answer both just in case it's one or the other. So if you were to create a video tour of the club, let's just say you're looking to do like a tee to green flyover of all 18 holes at your golf course, or you're looking to do a video tour such as like a a sneak peek behind the scenes at the experience that somebody's going to receive when they go to your property. If it's going to be video, typically it's going to be anywhere from probably 3 to 5 days, depending on the amount of footage you need us to capture. Okay, and you also have that, our best friend, Mother Nature, to deal with. So you want to make sure that the facility is available. It doesn't mean that you have to close it down to your members, but if you're doing a video tour, the team will be on property most likely, 3 to 5 days. Now, if you're doing an interactive tour, like one of those virtual tours like we looked at Renaissance or The Point, those can take most likely a day, 2 days, maybe, depending on how big your campus is. So in most cases, you can handle that in a day. It just really depends on how many turns that you need us to do. So for example, a turn is how many times are we setting down the camera, and then how are we connecting all of those turns in order to create a virtual tour. So again, if it's a video component, you're looking at probably 3 to 5 days. If you're looking at an interactive tour, it could be 1, maybe 2. Okay, great question. So this question's coming in from somebody who is wondering if they need to be an expert, it seems like, in all these areas. So this question is, prior to us scheduling a redesign, do we need to be familiar with all of these areas? Listen, we created a bunch of, we reviewed a ton of content today. You do not need to be an expert in all of these areas. I've always said that you need to know enough to be dangerous, but you don't need to know it all. And so the reason that you don't necessarily need to be an expert in all of these areas is because that's what your design agency is here for. Here at Members First, that's fun for us. We're here to walk you through the entire process, explain all of the pros, the cons, how does this fit into your digital footprint, and then we're here to help you make decisions on whether this is relevant for your strategic plan when it comes to your digital marketing and communications. So it is beneficial for you to know enough to be dangerous. However, make sure that you're relying on your design agency to be the experts. They're here to partner with you to make sure that you are navigating this crazy world of interactive communications in a good way. It's a great question. All right, looks like that was the last question coming in here. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to either my contact information is here, feel free to contact me directly. If you are a Members First client, definitely feel free to reach out to your client services manager. I appreciate you all spending your Friday afternoon with me. Great questions. Hopefully you enjoyed the content, and we'll see you next time.